5:45 in the morning. A young man pushes open his mother's front door after a long night shift, expecting the one thing every exhausted person craves, the quiet comfort of home. Instead, he gets something else entirely. The smell hits him first. Sharp, unmistakable. Gas. He stops, looks down. There's a towel deliberately stuffed under the rear door, and just a few feet away, a single candle burns in the dark like it's been waiting for him. His chest tightens. Something is wrong. Not accidentally wrong. Not I forgot to turn off the stove wrong. Wrong in a way that doesn't have a good explanation. He calls out. Silence. He calls out again. Nothing. And then, movement. A figure steps forward from inside the apartment. Someone who had no business being there. Someone who had recently been told to leave and not come back. This man looks at the sun. This young man who just worked through the night to come home to his mother, and says 4 words. 4 words that will rewire his entire world. 4 words he will never, for the rest of his life, be able to unhear. She's not responding. Welcome to Shadows of Crime. I'm your host, and if this is your first time here, you picked one hell of a case to start with. Hit that subscribe button, like this video, share it with somebody who needs to hear this story, and drop a comment right now telling us, where in the world are you watching from today? We read every single one. We're not going there yet, because before we get to what happened inside that apartment on the 6,800th block of South Calumet Avenue in Chicago, you need to know who she was. You need to know what she was building. And you need to understand exactly what was taken from this world on the 26th of November, 2025. Let's get into it. Carolyn Jones grew up on Chicago's West Side, near Garfield Park, a neighborhood that doesn't raise soft people. It raises survivors, people who learn early that nobody is coming to save them, so they'd better learn to save themselves. And that's exactly what Carolyn did. She built her life brick by brick. She showed up every single day to her job at the United States Postal Service. Rain, snow, Chicago wind that'll cut straight through your coat. And she delivered. Literally and figuratively. While raising 2 sons on her own. A 19-year-old and a 23-year-old who, by every account, were her entire heartbeat. And if that wasn't enough, Carolyn was 2 years deep into training to become a certified nursing assistant. 2 years of studying after long work shifts. 2 years of sacrifice, discipline, and delayed gratification because she had a vision for her future that was bigger than her current circumstances. She wasn't waiting for life to hand her something better. She was building it. Her family will tell you, Carolyn wasn't just a good person. She was that person. The one everybody called. The one who always picked up. Her uncle, Sean Lanier, said it plainly. She was the go-to for the family in multiple areas. Very well spoken, and one of the biggest hearts you'll ever meet. Her older sister, Renee McDonald, put it even simpler. She had a heart of gold. She didn't deserve that. 6 words. And somehow, they carry the weight of 1,000. Her son, King, described his mother in a way that should stop every single person watching this video cold. He called her his mom, his role model, his healthcare provider, and his everything. Not in a eulogy written by someone else, in his own words, on social media, through grief so raw it practically bleeds through the screen. This was not a woman sitting still waiting for life to happen. Carolyn Jones was 41 years old, actively rewriting her story, raising 2 young men, chasing a new career, and moving forward with the kind of quiet, unshakable strength that most people only wish they had. She wasn't looking for love. She was building a life, and she deserved every single piece of it. Drop a yellow heart in the comments right now if you know a woman like Carolyn. Strong, always giving, always the first one there for everybody else, Because women like her deserve to be celebrated, protected, and seen before it's too late. Not after. 2018. Carolyn is living her life, minding her business, raising her boys, building her future. She has zero interest in entertaining anything, or anyone, that's going to slow her down. And then Brandon shows up. Now, on paper, nothing about this man screams danger. His Facebook is full of jokes. Jokes about women, jokes about Chicago, the kind of humor that makes you laugh before you've had time to think about whether you should. He had kids of his own. He seemed like a regular guy navigating regular life. But what he also was persistent. He didn't take the hint when Carolyn kept her walls up. He kept showing up, kept reaching out, and kept turning on the charm until eventually her defenses came down. Messages became dates. Dates became something more serious. And by 2020, Carolyn Jones and Brandon Jones were standing at an altar, making promises in front of the people they loved. Married. To the outside world, they looked like a success story. Vacations to the Bahamas, candlelit dinners, anniversary posts that made people in the comments say, relationship goals. 6 years together. Nearly 5 years of marriage. A life that, from every public angle, looked solid. But here's what nobody tells you about pretty pictures. They don't show you what's happening just outside the frame. Because underneath those smiling photos, something was already coming apart at the seams. Quietly, slowly, and very, very deliberately. But here's the thing about men who chase that hard. Sometimes they're not chasing love. Sometimes they're chasing ownership. And the moment Carolyn figured that out, everything changed. Carolyn didn't leave a diary. She didn't sit down with a journalist. She didn't call a hotline or file a report. But she did leave a record. And it was hiding in plain sight, on her Facebook page, for anyone paying close enough attention. December 31st, 2024. New Year's Eve. While everyone else is posting countdowns and champagne glasses, Carolyn posts this. All men cheat. You can't spell cheat without he. People laughed, dropped laughing emojis, kept scrolling. Nobody asked if she was okay. They should have asked. February 2025. While still legally married to Carolyn, Brandon publicly posts a newborn baby, claiming the child is his. No explanation. No apology. No acknowledgement that his wife even existed. He just posted it. Like it was nothing. Like she was nothing. April 6th, 2025. Carolyn posts about divorce being okay, about emotional suffocation, about what it feels like to pour yourself into someone who leaves you feeling empty and unappreciated. Still, people scrolled past. April 15th. She goes further, admitting that loving someone who never properly loved her back had required more patience than she had left in her body. That's not a vague post. That's a confession. Then, May 25th, 2025. She posts a cheerful anniversary message. 6 years together. Almost 5 years married. Smiling for the camera one last time. The illusion, on still standing. Barely. By August 21st, the mask was gone. She wrote, Men lie so much they'll get married and tell you it was an all-white party. Sharp, pointed, aimed directly at one person. October 10th, 4 words that said everything. The wait is over. October 11th. Men be too used to women blowing up their phones. People don't even be worth that energy. Read those posts in order. From December to October. That's not a woman venting randomly. That's a woman documenting her exit, one post at a time, while the people around her kept scrolling. She was telling us. Every single month, she was telling us. Have you ever watched someone's social media knew something was deeply wrong and said nothing? Be honest. Drop your answer in the comments. Zero judgment. Because Carolyn was speaking. And the question is, who was actually listening? At some point, Carolyn Jones stopped waiting for things to get better. She made a decision. A clean, courageous, completely reasonable decision that any person in her position had every right to make. She told Brandon to leave. Not a threat. Not an ultimatum designed to pull him back. A final answer. She removed him from her home on South Calumet Avenue and reclaimed the one space in her life that was supposed to be safe, her own four walls. And then she did something even more powerful. She kept going. CNA training, her sons, her peace. The future she had been quietly constructing while the marriage was falling apart around her. Carolyn didn't collapse. She didn't beg. She redirected every ounce of energy she had been pouring into a broken man, back into herself. And eventually, she opened her heart again. She met someone new, someone who, by all accounts, made her smile in a way that was worth posting about. And that's exactly what she did. She made it Facebook official. A photo, a kiss. Proof that Carolyn Jones wasn't just surviving, she was living. Brandon saw it. And according to her sister, he tried to have that photo removed. Let that land for a second. This is the same man who publicly posted another woman's newborn while still wearing Carolyn's ring. The same man who offered zero apology, zero accountability, and zero respect throughout their marriage. That man could not stomach a single photo of his ex-wife being happy without him. He didn't want her. He just didn't want anyone else to have her. And that distinction, that precise and poisonous distinction, is exactly where this story turns dark. Because what came next wasn't a moment of madness. It wasn't heat-of-the-moment rage. It was deliberate. It was planned. And every single second of it was caught on camera. The last thing Carolyn Jones posted on social media was a joke. A lighthearted, completely her, laugh-out-loud joke about Thanksgiving. She wrote, "Thanksgiving reminder, not all of us were made to cook. Some of us were simply born to stand in the kitchen and talk to the person who can." That was it. That was the last thing she gave the world. And then, silence. No memes, no quotes, no check-ins, no good morning posts. Nothing. For a woman who was regularly active and present online, the silence was deafening. Friends noticed. Family noticed. But before anyone could make sense of it, the truth came out in the most devastating way possible. Now here's where everything you thought you knew about this case gets flipped completely upside down. Because the story Brandon told, the grieving husband who just happened to find his estranged wife unresponsive and rushed her to the hospital, completely falls apart the moment you look at the camera footage. Brandon was not at that apartment once that night. He was there multiple times. Camera footage captured him entering and exiting Carolyn's building on the 6,800th block of South Calumet Avenue repeatedly in the darkest hours of November 26th, 2025. Back and forth, in and out, like a man with a checklist. And at one point, he is seen walking out carrying bags, loading them into his vehicle in the middle of the night, after his estranged wife, the woman he had been removed from, was already dead inside that apartment. He wasn't grieving. He wasn't panicking. He was cleaning up. Then he went back inside. Set the scene, gas running, a single candle burning, a towel deliberately stuffed under the rear door. A setup designed to look like an accident. A setup designed to make sure that if anyone came home, the building, and the evidence inside it, might not survive the morning. What he didn't count on was the timing. At 5:45 in the morning, Carolyn's son walked through that front door after his night shift. He smelled the gas immediately, saw the candle, saw the towel, and before he could process any of it, Brandon stepped forward and delivered those 4 words we heard at the top of this video. She's not responding. What happened next is something no child should ever have to live through. Carolyn's sons, her boys, the 2 young men she gave everything to, helped carry their own mother's body out of her bedroom and into Brandon's car. He did not call 911. He drove her to the University of Chicago Medical Center himself. She was pronounced dead on arrival. A Thanksgiving Day autopsy confirmed what the camera footage already suggested. Carolyn Jones died of strangulation. Her death was ruled a homicide. And here is the detail that makes this even more unbearable. Carolyn suffered from asthma, which means her final moments were not quick. They were not merciful. They were unthinkable. He didn't just take her life. He made her sons carry her out. Carolyn's body was barely cold, and Brandon Jones was already on Facebook, crafting his narrative, playing his role, and performing grief for an audience that hadn't yet seen the camera footage. The very next day after her death, he posted, "So this what we come to. From me mourning my wife to me murdering her. Myself and her sons are the ones that dressed her, put her in the back of my truck, and I drove her to the hospital. Anyone that knows me knows I wouldn't think of harming her. If y'all want to know what happened, call her best friend and get the Ring camera footage." Read that again. He told people to check the Ring camera footage. So the same man who was caught on camera entering and exiting that building multiple times in the dead of night told the public to check the footage. The audacity is almost incomprehensible. But he wasn't done. He followed that post with a challenge. "Anyone wants smoke, I'll drop location." As though aggression was a substitute for innocence. Then he posted a video of himself driving recklessly through Chicago streets. Like chaos was a costume he could wear to distract from what the autopsy had already confirmed. When the pressure became too heavy to perform through, Brandon fled the state entirely. He told police he left for Memphis because Carolyn's family had threatened him. He ran. And then he had the nerve to frame his running as victimhood. But here's the thing about guilt. It doesn't care how good your performance is. The autopsy doesn't negotiate. The camera footage doesn't take sides. And Carolyn's sons, the 2 young men who carried their mother's body out of her own bedroom, were never going to stay silent. Brandon thought Facebook was a courtroom where charisma counted as evidence. He was wrong. While Brandon was busy performing innocence online, Carolyn's son King was doing something else entirely. He was telling the truth. No filter. No publicist. No carefully worded statement designed to protect anyone's image. Just a son, raw, broken, and absolutely furious, pouring his grief onto social media for the world to witness. "My mom was the sweetest person ever. This man robbed me. Robbed me from my future with my mom. Robbed me from my accomplishments I was going to make with my mother. And he robbed me from my whole heart." Every single word of that lands like a punch to the chest. He continued, "This is a perfectly fine woman. Beautiful. No health problems. No nothing. How could a person just rob somebody out of their precious life like that? Time will tell. God don't like ugly." And then came the detail that stopped everyone cold. King confirmed that after Brandon was taken into custody, he attempted to slash his own wrist inside the 2nd District Police Station near 51st and Wentworth. The man who had spent days on Facebook challenging people to find him crumbled the moment real consequences arrived. King's response was immediate and unsparing. "You can't run from this. Trying to scar yourself in a police station else you weak as hell." Meanwhile, Carolyn's sister Renee McDonald added a layer to this story that reframed everything. She revealed that Carolyn had recently posted her new relationship publicly. A photo, a kiss, happiness made visible. And that was the moment Brandon shattered. She posted it plainly. This is why the man was mad, y'all. The man who fathered a child outside his marriage. The man who offered Carolyn zero loyalty and zero respect. That man reported her photo to get it removed from the internet. He couldn't keep her, so he made sure nobody else ever would. King called his mother his role model, his healthcare provider, and his everything. If those words hit you somewhere deep, type King in the comments. Let's make sure that every single person who watches this video knows her name. Carolyn Jones deserves to be remembered, loudly and forever. To Brandon Jones ran, but he couldn't run far enough. On December 1st, 2025, 5 days after Carolyn was pronounced dead, Brandon Jones was taken into custody and hit with murder charges. The same man who had been posting Facebook challenges and driving recklessly through Chicago streets was now exactly where the evidence had always been pointing. Behind bars. The Cook County Medical Examiner made it official. Carolyn Jones, 41 years old, died as a result of strangulation. Ruled a homicide. No ambiguity. No wiggle room. The cause of death was as clear as the camera footage that captured her killer coming and going from her building in the dark. Area 1 detectives confirmed the investigation was ongoing, meaning the full weight of what happened on the 26th of November, that 2025 was still being built, piece by piece, into an airtight case. Meanwhile, back home, the people who actually loved Carolyn were left to pick up the pieces. Her older sister, Renee McDonald, stepped in to care for Carolyn's 2 sons, 19 and 23 years old. 2 young men who walked into a nightmare and came out the other side without their mother. Renee said it quietly but honestly. They are hurting right now, and they know we could do better by trying to move on, but it's hard. Hard. That's the word she chose. Not impossible. Not broken beyond repair. Hard. Because that's what Carolyn raised. Sons who keep going even when the ground disappears beneath them. The trial is pending. The full legal chapter is still being written. But the truth? The truth was already decided by an autopsy on Thanksgiving Day. Let's be completely straight with each other for a moment. This is not just a Chicago story. This is not just Carolyn's story. This is happening in every city, every neighborhood, on every block, where a woman has ever tried to leave a man who believed he owned her. And here is the truth that nobody wants to say out loud. Women are not most at risk while they're in the relationship. They are most at risk the moment they decide to leave it. The moment Carolyn kicked Brandon out, the clock started ticking. The moment she posted that photo with her new man, happy, kissing, living, she became a target in the eyes of a man who had confused love with possession from the very beginning. Carolyn's Facebook was a public record of a woman trying to get free, signed from December 2024 all the way through October 2025. She was documenting her pain, her clarity, and her exit. Post by post. Month by month. And the people around her kept scrolling. So here's what we take from this, not as a lecture, but as a lifeline. When a man publicly disrespects his wife and offers zero accountability, that is not a personality flaw. That is a warning. When a man cannot accept that a woman has moved on, when he reports her photo, when he rages at her happiness, that is not heartbreak. That is danger. When someone shows you they cannot handle the word no, do not wait for a second demonstration. Believe them the first time. The danger is not always the stranger in the dark. Sometimes it is the man who stood at an altar and made promises. Sometimes it wears a wedding ring. Sometimes it has your address memorized and a key it was supposed to return. Carolyn was 2 years into her CNA training. She had a new relationship. A new chapter was opening right in front of her. All of it stolen. Carolyn Jones was 41 years old. She was a mother, a sister, a niece, a friend, a student, a postal worker who showed up every single day, a woman who grew up on Chicago's West Side and refused to let that define her ceiling, a woman who was 2 years deep into building a brand new version of her future. She made it out of the marriage. She found new love. She was posting, laughing, living, almost free. Almost. And that word, almost, is the one that should sit with you long after this video ends. Because here is the question nobody has a clean answer to. If the signs were there, month after month, post after post, plain as day on her own Facebook page, why does it always take a body for the world to finally stop scrolling and pay attention? Sit with that. Lose some sleep over it. Let it change how you show up for the women in your life. To her sons, King and his brother, your mother's name will not be reduced to a statistic on this channel. Ever. To Renee McDonald, Sean Lanier, and every member of the Jones family still carrying this grief, she is not forgotten. Carolyn Jones, remembered. Always. If this story moved you, subscribe to Shadows of Crime, share this video, and come back for our next case. Because on this channel, we don't let them be forgotten. Not one.